And now, I think Celeste, you wanted to introduce Ms. Zarela, or Zarela, you want to do it yourself?
I'd be honored.
Okay.
Zarela is my dear friend from high school, and I feel so honored just to be here and introduce her to everybody. But I'm so excited because there's so many people here. Please come back. We have, as Abraham said, we have so much going on. We have speakers, we learn from one another. It's just it's just a good thing. So please join us. We're here the second Saturday of every month. And thank you so much for being here. This is wonderful. Thanks. And here's Zarela, my dear friend. I guess you all know she's from New York. No, I'm from El Paso. From El Paso and Chihuahua. But I'm living in New York now. Yeah, she's in New York, famous chef. Her son is Aaron Sanchez. If you all have seen him on TV. And Zarela had a restaurant in New York called Zarela's. The food was fabulous. My husband and I got to visit her restaurant. And she's still cooking. She cooked for her family all day yesterday or something. Yeah. So we've been having a good time. And she's got a lot to share. Thank you for being here. Please come back. We want to see you all.
Thank you. When I was doing research for my Oaxaca book, I've written 3 books, all with Parkinson's, and I'm working on my 4th one now. We came upon a graduation ceremony in a little village high up in Monte Patepetl in Oaxaca. There was a celebration that followed, and we were invited to join them, and one of the parents stood up and said, hago este ofrecimiento, I make this offering, porque solo no se puede compartir la vida, because alone one cannot share life. Otros tienen que estar ahí, others must be there. And I'm so honored to be able to speak to you and to have all of you come here and hear my approach to dealing with this devastating disease, which we all know can take many different forms in many different people. So what I'm talking about is basically my approach to dealing with it. And my approach was developed, I grew up in a cattle ranch. I used to kill rattlesnakes with a 10-inch whip. I used to brand, lasso, go on cattle drives. I used to neuter, so I come from very, very strong kind of family discipline. Things from others say, well, make some courage, just don't give in. And I've carried this into, to how I deal with this condition. In 1987, I was getting this massage. And I got this anxiety attack so bad that they had to call an ambulance. After that, I noticed that my left hand started clenching into a claw. So I see that as being the start of the Parkinson's in me. But I wasn't diagnosed until much later. One day I was going to run an errand all dressed up in high heels. I remember exactly what I had on. And this cab hit me. And they sent me to the hospital, and in the MRI, it showed that I had a broken tibia, a fibula, a torn ACL, a partially torn MCL, and they said, but the images weren't too clear because of the patient's tremor. And I said, what tremor? So then I started getting diagnosed, and at first they thought that it was benign familiar tremor because everybody in my family trembles. But it wasn't. It turned out to be Parkinson's, and I was sent out to this doctor. I was a very good friend of Oliver Sacks. I don't know if you know who he is, but he was this very famous neurologist that did the film Awakenings. And he wrote, The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat, An Anthropologist on Mars, all that. And he was a very good friend of mine. So when I called to tell him that I was diagnosed, he said, came over right away and showed me physically what was going to happen. The crawl, the stoop thing, the trembling, and I said to him, no, it isn't. I'm gonna beat this shit. and he died recently, and he was astounded that I haven't really progressed that much neurologically. And in fact, this last test that I had actually improved from my last one. But this is not for sissies. what I do takes a lot of, discipline, it takes a lot of will, it takes a lot of things, and I have very strict things that I do. So anyway, when I first got in the accident, I love to work out. So the only way that I could work out was to do yoga on the floor, which is one of the things that they recommend for Parkinson's. So unbeknownst to me, and I wasn't, wasn't diagnosed at that point, I started doing the one thing that they really recommend for Parkinson's, which is yoga. And it was a program that I still do with this woman that involves Qigong, Pilates, and martial arts, all on the floor at that point, So that was the start of my treatment without even thinking about it. So, no matter how bad I feel, I go work out. I force myself to go work out. If I'm having a really bad day and I'm kind of running late, I put on my headphones, I put Freeway of Love, and that gets me going fast. And if I have time, I put on Some Guys Have All the Luck. Because that's some guys, and so you walk at a certain rhythm, but I get there. I do a half an hour on the bike, and then I do an hour of water aerobics. And that, I recommend that more than anything else. I don't know if you have a program here with water aerobics, but besides the fact that you use all your muscles and all this, and you have a lot of flexibility, I mean, I can do downward dog and turn around and do one-hand push-ups. I'm 69 years old. So the other important aspect of doing this water aerobics is it's a social event as well. A lot of the people are very old there that go there. I mean, some of them are 95 and they're kicking and doing all this kind of stuff. And that's another one of the elements in dealing with Parkinson's that is so important, which is to be social, to interact with other people. I entertain constantly. That's my fun. Last night we went to the first event of this this high school reunion, and I kept on asking everybody, so what do you do? They said, well, I'm retired. I said, yeah, but what do you do? Well, not much. I said, well, what's your passion? What can you not live life without doing? And I'm fortunate that I have a lot of things that I can't, live life without doing, And being one of them is learning all I can about people. So I kept on saying, I think everybody thought I was very obnoxious, but I didn't have a lot of friends in high school anyway. So I didn't really care. So anyway, so I guess I'm not going to talk about medicines, but I am going to say one thing that before anybody gives you a medicine, find out what the long-term effects are. Because they gave you Requip right from the beginning, and it's extremely difficult to get off of them, and you end up having a lot of compulsive behavior. You have four different things: gambling, shopping, nymphomania, and eating. So the thing is that I'm trying to cut it down, and I managed to cut it down to half a pill 3 times a day, but it's really hard. I mean, I was just warning you to ask the doctor what the long-term effects of this, because they give you whatever, and I take like 13 different pills, and if you don't take it on time, because I also have Crohn's, so if you don't take them on time, you're screwed, so you have to be very disciplined about that. It's a lot of discipline that's involved in dealing with this condition. I think I spend about 70% of my time every day just working on this, so that I'll be okay. I do a lot of physical therapy. I do the big exercises, which I send to Celeste, and hopefully if anybody wants them, we can email them to you. And there's certain exercises that, because of your movements become smaller, so I do them every day, the big exercises. The bicycle, the tandem bicycle works really well. In New York, there are programs where you can go and do tandem biking, with the people volunteer to take people with Parkinson's and other diseases to do tandem biking. And in fact, Oliver Sacks, like I tell you, was my hero. But then I met this guy by the name of Norman Doidge, who has written 2 incredibly important books about neuroplasticity. He wrote the book that's called The Brain That Changes Itself, and it's just an incredible thing. And the new book is about how the brain heals itself. And it starts out with a Parkinson's case. And this person kicked it just with biking. So he's working on a lot of interesting therapies right now. One in particular, which is called PONS, P-O-N-S, and it's something that they put on the tongue. And people with MS who have not spoken or walked in 30 years just get up and speak and talk, and that's going to be a really, really promising thing. So so he's my mentor now. And he's just shocked. He's always telling me, you have to cross those meridians. You have to cross those meridians every day, because that's good for neurological health. So that's very important, even if, when you get up and stretch, because if you don't stretch, you won't be able to walk. So crossing the meridians is like really, really important. So I actually do that with camarón pelao. Because I do all my morning routine with different music, so that works really well. And then boxing, I don't know how many of you do boxing, but the boxing is amazing. There's special programs with boxing for Parkinson's people, and I love it because you can get out any aggression that you want. You just beat the hell out of the other person, or it's usually a therapist who can used to it, and it really builds a lot of strength. So I do that once in a while. I love to do the boxing. I don't know if is it available here in El Paso?
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, I really encourage that. It's really good. So then, it isn't until fairly recently that people are recognizing that there's a lot of pain involved in Parkinson's. Most people don't think that there's any pain involved in Parkinson's, but there is. First of all, like Oliver said, you go to bed, you don't take your medicine for 6, 7 hours, whatever. You wake up with your neck stiff, your hands clenched, your jaw clenched, and so there's a lot of things. So about dealing with Parkinson's, the worst part, I think, of the pain are the spasms, in your legs, and that's just like a really hard, your foot, when it clenches up like that and you can't undo it. Well, you have to just sort of relax. Biofeedback is great for that. It's only a 13-hour thing, and you can rent it online. But biofeedback is amazing for that because then you can sort of start opening your foot. I mean, it's incredibly painful, as you know. So what do I do for pain management? Smoke marijuana. And they're starting to realize how important this is. I mean, it didn't go over very well at the reunion last night. A Loretto girl, because I said, fuck that. And she's, was I not going to say, Loretto girl? I said, well, yeah, Loretto girl who went to New York and has to fight a lot. But anyway, so I do that. And I also, one of the problems that people have with Parkinson's is speaking clearly. And that is so difficult for people to deal with it. And a lot of people start hiding because of that. And they don't tell people that they have Parkinson's. So I really urge you all to tell people, I have Parkinson's. Help me, my left hand doesn't work. Can you open the door for me? Can you put my seatbelt on? Because there's things, because otherwise you're just embarrassed for not being able to do things, and people don't know why. So I tell everybody, I have Parkinson's. And I need your help, and that really helps me a lot. So anyway, I went to voice therapy, which is so boring. It was like ma, me, January, February, March, the whole thing. And I said, forget this. So I started singing. I've always liked to sing. So I started having reunions Sunday musical afternoons. And I would cook a big, wonderful buffet and then invite musicians over. And they play so that I can sing. Like one of my journalist friends said, Zarela has to sing. She sings all day and she has to sing. It's one of the things that I need to do. So this producer was there at one of the things and he said, I'm doing this movie, which reminds me of a joke, but I won't tell it to you because it's really bad. But he said, I'm doing this movie and I would love for you to audition for this. And as a cabaret singer. So I went and auditioned for it, I got the part. So I did this movie, which is going to come out around January or something. It's called Moronga. It's bilingual, and it's done by by a Scottish director by the name of John Dickey. And so it's taken a long time to do, but it's good. It's good because it's going to come out at the same time that my album is coming out. I decided that I got the bug. I love to perform. So I decided I'd do an album. It's called Sad Songs from a Happy Heart. And these are songs that I used to sing with my mom, and who likes sad songs, because also full of feeling, and she could really play the piano like all, emotional and everything. We are a singing family, a singing, cooking, laughing family. So, I really urge you all, if you like to sing, to do it, because not only is it satisfying, but it's beautiful, and it really uses all your muscles. Because that is, difficulty speaking is very frustrating. I mean, it's really, especially for somebody like me. The other important thing that I think is mindful awareness, what I call mindful awareness. Always be aware of how you're walking. Are you shuffling along? Are you taking big steps? Are you watching where you're going? Because it's very easy to trip, as you know, and fall. I haven't fallen once yet. But the thing is that you have to be aware of how you're walking. You have to throw your shoulders back, because otherwise you're going to become totally hunched over. You have to take big steps, So I call mindful awareness of this. Also, facial expressions. Am I smiling? Are my eyes open? Are they twinkling? You sort of have to be aware of that, because otherwise, with Parkinson's, you're going around like this with a mask on your face, and you need to feel good about yourself. I never leave my house until I feel good about myself. My mom would always wore lipstick before she left the house. It didn't matter what, she went out in a bathrobe, but she would do that. The other thing is, when you're speaking, making sure you enunciate every word, because it's easy to, our voice level goes down so much, and a lot of people don't hear you, and there's nothing more annoying. ¿Qué? What else? So I just try to really enunciate and try to speak louder, because people don't understand. And one of the reasons sometimes I don't go out is because if I don't feel good, I don't want to have to be struggling all night to be understood. I'd just rather not go. Anyway, and that's not good. So the other thing is healthful eating. I mean, I don't think I've had one healthy meal here in El Paso ever. Everybody wants to give you enchiladas and arroz and frijoles. So I've written 3 books, and my passion is cultural anthropology. So I wrote a book, my first book, called Food from My Heart, which is available on Amazon, and was nominated for Best International Book of the Year when it came out. It's a story of my life and the recipes of different times of my life.